Want to learn your target language for free? Then get our language gifts of the month right now, before they expire. Here's what you're getting this month. First, the Going to the Movies conversation cheat sheet. With this new cheat sheet, you'll learn to say phrases like, "Does this have subtitles? When does the movie start?" and much more. Second, the How to Talk About Your Feelings PDF ebook. You'll learn over 90 words and phrases for feelings with this bonus PDF picture ebook. Download and review it on any device. Third, 30 must-know opposite adjectives. Learn how to say young and old, hot and cold, and much more. You'll pick up over 30 words with this vocab bonus. Fourth, can you talk about people's appearances? With this quick 1-minute lesson, you'll learn to describe others with words like tall, short, muscular, and much more. Fifth, want the language learning app that actually gets you speaking? Download Innovative Language 101 for free for the Android, iPhone, and iPad. You'll unlock hundreds of bite-sized audio and video lessons made by real teachers and start speaking in minutes. And finally, the deal of the month. If you want to finally master the language with lessons by real teachers and our complete language learning program, get up to 45% off our 6-month challenge sale. To get your gifts and language learning resources, click the link in the description below. Download them right now before they expire.
Hola, soy Brenda Romagnolo, tu profesora de español. Today we're going to learn what Latin time is and how schedules work in Latin America and in Spain. I'm going to teach you all about the Latin time in Spanish. Let's begin with what is Latin time? Latin time. Have you ever heard of that? The Latin time is a specific time zone that only exists in Latin America, and I think it also happens in Spain, where it seems like Latinos have their own specific time for things, events, etc. It is sort of well known, and probably this is going to be a stereotype, yes, about Latin people, that we are always late. Yes, so I always use this as an excuse when I am running late to a specific party or an event. You know, I am running on Latin time. Yes, and I am well known for people to maybe not now. I actually got a lot better. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. But back in the day, I think in the past, people used to tell me half an hour before things, you know, before the actual event. They will tell me things, parties, events were actually taking place half an hour earlier than it was supposed to, because they knew I was going to be running at least half an hour late. So that is what we call Latin time, where things take a little bit longer, or nothing really happens on time. It's usually time is an indication of when, about that time, when things are going to happen. So expect on your holidays, if you go to Latin America and Spain, that things will not go on the dot. Of course, be there just in case they do, but usually speaking, allow some extra time for things to happen, because it's more of an estimation and not necessarily a specific period when things are going to happen. I remember the first experience when I moved to Sydney in Australia around 11 years ago now. I remember the first time that I was catching a bus, and I checked the schedule for the bus, and it said that the bus was going to stop at the bus stop at, say, 9:17 a.m. And I'm like, wow, that's so specific, like 9:17. What is that about? I mean, just say 9:15. I mean, I'll be there 9:15, and then the bus will pass, you know, between then and 20 past or 25 past. And I was so shocked when the bus actually stopped at 9:17 a.m. on the dot at the bus stop, and I was like, wow, that is crazy. I thought, because I come from this culture where, you know, usually time is an estimation. Not necessarily maybe if it is for airplanes or for trains, but things are expected to have a bit of a different timing. So I know it's considered rude in the English culture to not show up on time or to be late and things like that, but do not take this as an offense. It is something that is just cultural. How schedules work? Usually speaking, if we're talking about trains or airplanes, we do things that things will probably be on time, but if it is buses or people in formal situations like parties or people going to see you or visit you at your home, it's very likely that people will be running on Latin time, which could be 5 minute delay to, I would say, up to half an hour delay. If you are having an interview, for example, for a job interview in the Latin world or in Spain, I will recommend that you actually do show up in time. Do not run on Latin time yourself, especially for formal or important, serious situations. Muy bien, muchas gracias y nos vemos en la próxima clase. That's all for today. I will see you next class. Adiós, hasta luego. Hola, soy Brenda Romagnello. Bienvenidos a otra clase de español. Welcome to another Spanish class. Today we're going to have a look at the Spanish subjects. What are they and how do they work? Let's start with what is a subject, a Spanish subject. So the subject in a sentence, when we talk in, say, grammatical terms, in grammar, a subject is the person or the thing that is going to perform the action in a sentence. Yes, for example, if I say yo hablo español, I speak Spanish, I is the subject here because I am performing the action of speaking Spanish. If I say el perro corre en el parque, the dog runs in the park, the subject here is el perro. Can you see? El perro, the dog, is performing the action of running in the park. So when we talk about subjects in Spanish, we are referring to the people or animals or things that perform actions when we talk about them in a sentence. So it's easy when it is a specific person, say for example Ana, or if we want to talk about the subject being Pedro and Julián, that perform an action, that they are the subjects. But also, when we talk about the personal pronouns, the people who are performing actions in Spanish, they are subjects as well. So what we are going to learn in how the subjects in Spanish work, we are going to learn the personal pronouns in Spanish. Repite después de mí. Repeat after me. Yo, tú, vos, usted, él, ella, él o ella for it, plural, nosotros, nosotras, ustedes, vosotros, vosotras, ellos, ellas. Okay, so if we have a look at this table here, what we can see is that there are 6 different ways to translate you in Spanish. We're going to say tú, vos, usted, ustedes, vosotros, and vosotras. If we pay attention here, tú, vos, and usted are singular pronouns, which means that they are used to address one person only, while ustedes, vosotros, and vosotras are the plural form of you and is used to talk to 2 or more people at the same time. Something really important to mention is that when we are referring to a group of people, when you have mixed genders, in the general form is going to be the masculino. Yeah? So for example, if we are in a group and we have some mix of men and women, then we are going to call ourselves nosotros, even if there are women in the group. The general word for the pronouns for people when we describe things like this is going to be the masculino. Yes, we have to be all women to be able to call ourselves nosotras. What is the difference between tú and vos? So tú is an informal register of you, the same as vos, but the difference is that tú is used in Latin America and Spain, and vos is only used in Argentina, Uruguay, and certain parts of Colombia. We don't use tú, for example, in Argentina. You have to say vos. What is the difference between tú and usted? Usted is the formal register of you. It means you, but in a formal setting or register. So you use usted to talk to your boss or to go to a job interview, or when we talk to the president or the king, the queen, or a VIP person or a black tie event, or in certain cases also, you use usted to talk to elderly people, yeah? People that you want to show respect. What is the difference? ¿Cuál es la diferencia entre ustedes y vosotros? Ustedes significa, it means you all in Latin America. Yeah, it's only used in Latin America for you all. And vosotros is the form for you all, yes, to address a plural audience as you in Spain. So in Spain we use vosotros, in Latin America we use ustedes. Note that ustedes doesn't have a feminine form, yes, and vosotros does. So vosotros, the femenino, is vosotras. What happens if you use vosotros in Latin America? Nothing. People will assume that you learned Spanish in Spain. And if you use ustedes in Spain, people will assume that you learned Spanish or that you've been to Latin America. In Spain, they do use ustedes if they want to be extremely formal and respectful. It is used in certain contexts, but it's extremely formal in Spain. Muy bien, vamos a hablar de it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the personal pronoun it en español. As you can see here, we said that the Spanish version is going to be él or ella, yes, he or she. So the thing is, in Spanish, we're going to have gender, set gender, even for things. Yes, so obviously people and animals have dual genders, masculino and femenino, but things in Spanish, such as the table, the chair, the window, the book, they're going to have set genders. They're going to be either masculino or femenino. Yes, so in English, I know we call things as it. En español, we're going to call things he or she. Por ejemplo, la mesa is going to be femenino. El libro is going to be masculino. La puerta is going to be femenino. So, la mesa, la silla, the table and the chair, and the door, la puerta, we're going to say she. And for el libro, el coche, we're going to say él. So when we talk about conjugation, you can see, for example, if I say in English, Ana to be a teacher is not correct. We have to say Ana is a teacher. So that is what we are doing. We're conjugating the verb, we're putting the verb in the correct form for Ana to be performing this action, for Ana to be something. Ana is. In the same way, we cannot say Ana ser maestra. Yes, we have to say Ana es maestra. We need to change the verb and put it correlated with Ana. Something important to notice here is that in Spanish we omit the subject in many occasions. We actually only mention it when we want to create contrast or for emphasis. But most Spanish speakers basically don't say yo soy. We basically say soy directly. We omit, we don't mention the subject. Why do we do this? Every single ending, every single form of the conjugated verb is slightly different, And what we are saying here is that the subject is already mentioned in the verb. Each personal pronoun, each subject will have a different form of the verb. And that is why it's redundant, if you want to think about it, to mention the subject, because it's already mentioned in the verb. If I say soy Ana, as you can see, it is not open to interpretation who are we talking about, because soy is not you, tú eres, él, ella es, nosotros somos. As you can see, soy can only be I. Can you see that? So because this person is already mentioned in the verb, we basically omit the subject in Spanish. Soy Ana cannot be any other person but yo. Muy bien, eso es todo por hoy. That is all for today. Thank you so much for watching this lesson, and I will see you next time. Nos vemos, adiós, hasta luego. What language do they speak in Argentina? Hola, soy Brenda Romagnello, tu profesora de español. Hi, I'm Brenda Romagnello and I'm your Spanish teacher. A lot of people ask this question: what language do they speak in Argentina? And where is Argentina to start with? I've heard people, I am of course from Argentina myself. A lot of people don't know where Argentina is, and also they don't know what language we speak there. And it's understandable because we are so far south that no one really knows what's going on there, right? So Argentina is in the southern part of Latin America and South America, ¿sí? En el sur de Latinoamérica o América del Sur, Sudamérica. Al sur, all the way down to the south, that's where we are. I am sure you must have heard of Maradona, el Papa, Eva Perón, el tango, las empanadas, el mate, la carne argentina, the Spanish steak, el dulce de leche. All these things are from Argentina. So I'm sure you probably heard about the Argentinian culture. It's very interesting because a lot of people don't really know what language we speak there. The other reason why a lot of people may be confused, I've heard people telling me that, oh, I thought Argentina was in Europe, or they thought it was, they didn't know where it was, is because there is a huge influence from Italian and Spanish background, also German and French. There were lots of immigration even before the world wars that came from Europe and that went to the eastern part of Argentina, and that mix of cultures is usually what makes Argentina so distinctive and perhaps a little bit different than other countries in Latin America as well. I've heard people, and I actually have to agree with them, saying that, for example, Buenos Aires looks, the architecture in Buenos Aires looks very French inspired, or it's very similar, the city vibe, as being New York, as being in New York. It has this very feel of very European colonial big city feel to it. And if you listen to tango, it sounds very much like I would say French music. So I think it's very inspired in that. And the way that tango began is more like the blues, you know, and the hip hop nowadays, when it was the way that people express their feelings, and usually used to belong to the lower classes, when they wanted to express a way, find a way through singing and songs to express how sad they felt, what they were going through in the world. So it's very much like blues, like jazz, like it started as in the lower classes as a way to express how sad they felt. And if you listen to tango lyrics, usually they are very sad, or they talk about situations that most of the times is a complaint or is a sad story. And I know that tango nowadays is considered to be really hot and passionate and has a lot of chemistry, and it's extremely romantic, but at the time it was considered, in the early 20s, it was considered quite revealing, right? Because you had a lot of intimacy and a lot of passion when you were dancing. The couples were dancing very closely. So in the society of the time, it was considered quite passionate, kind of like dirty dancing. Okay, so now that we know where Argentina is actually located, now we go to the language. What language do they speak in Argentina? So I actually get a lot when I introduce myself. I live in Sydney in Australia, and when I introduce myself, I'm Brenda from Argentina. They tend to think, they tend to confuse Argentina with Brazil. Yes, with Brazil. So a lot of people think that we speak Portuguese in Argentina. It makes sense because if you look at the map of South America, you will see that Brazil, it's a huge country in there, and so I understand when people refer back to South America and they see this huge country, they probably think Argentina is part of it, or that we are influenced by it and therefore we speak Portuguese. No, we actually speak Spanish. We speak Spanish in Argentina. There are some distinctive pronunciation differences with some other countries in Latin America and Spain. For example, we have what we call yeísmo, which is to pronounce the double L and the Y exactly the same, and it has, especially in Buenos Aires and in that part of the country, it has a sh sound. So we say yo me llamo, yes, for yo me llamo or yo me llamo, as we would say it in other countries. I am particularly from Córdoba, which is the middle of the country. We don't use that sh sound as in Buenos Aires. We call it the porteño accent. And porteño comes from el puerto, yes, because Buenos Aires is close to the port, and so we call people from Buenos Aires porteños because they are the port people. So I don't speak like that. I usually use a more je sound for yo me llamo. Another huge difference between the Argentinian Spanish compared to Latin America and Spain is the use of vos. Vos is the second person singular you and informal you. So Latin America, most countries in Latin America and Spain, they use tú for the informal way of saying you. In Argentina, we're going to say vos. But it's not only used in Argentina, vos is also used in Uruguay and certain parts of Colombia as well. The only difference is that some verbs will change the conjugation with vos. Usually it has that accent. For example, you can say tú hablas español. In Argentina, we say vos hablas español. Can you hear the difference? Tú hablas español, vos hablas español. Okay, I hope that you had a little bit of cultural moment, mind-blowing situation happening in your brain. Now you know where Argentina is and what language we speak there. Thank you so much for watching. Muchas gracias y nos vemos en la próxima clase. I will see you next class. Adiós.
Pero si le ponen el canción.
No es el canción, es la canción. Pero si le ponen la canción.
Pero, a ver, nosotros no decimos la calzón. Canción termina en N.
Ajá.
Y calzón también es masculino.
Sí, pero canción es la canción y calzón es el calzón. Yeah. So, if you want to avoid the mistake that the friend just made, stay with us in this video because we're going to check the most common endings for feminine words in Spanish.
Yeah.
So, as you might know, my name is Diego.
And I'm Efrain.
And enjoy this video. Woo! Okay guys, so you are normally taught in the schools that the feminine words in Spanish end with A.
Yeah.
And this is true in 90% of the cases, but sometimes it is masculine, the word. Okay? So, however, we can see that this is a pattern, so that's why the first most common ending for the feminine words is A. A, yeah, exactly. For example, we have
montaña. Me gusta caminar en la montaña.
Nice.
Another example.
Gata. Gata.
Mhm.
Mi gata se llamaba Susana la gata.
Susana la gata. Her artistic
Le
name.
decíamos Susi.
Just Susie. Susie la gata. Okay, good. So the next ending is dad. That is D-A-D. Dad. For example,
Por ejemplo, deidad. Deidad. Nuestros antepasados tenían una deidad y su nombre era Huitzilopochtli.
Huitzilopochtli.
The next one. Universidad. Universidad. Nosotros nos conocimos en la universidad.
Universidad. Nice. So another very common ending is T-A-D. Dad. So it is very similar to that. Dad. For example,
La amistad. La amistad. Amistad. La amistad que tenemos es muy bella. Ok, the next one. Libertad. Libertad. La libertad de expresión es muy importante.
The next ending is ed. Ed. Ed.
Ok, first example, red. Red. Yo nunca supe usar la red para pescar.
So you just need to throw it and that's it.
No, it's not that easy. You need,
To throw it?
but you need técnica.
Technique. Good. The red.
Ok, the next one. Pared. Pared. La pared es blanca. Yeah.
Good. Nice. Okay, so the next ending is S-I-O-N. Sion. S-I-O-N.
Yeah.
Sion.
Visión. Visión. Mi visión es muy buena. Another one. Transmisión. Transmisión. Vean nuestra transmisión cada semana.
Another one, very common ending is again Sion, but this time is with C instead of S. That is C-I-O-N. C-I-O-N. Sion.
La canción. La canción. La canción de la Tusa es muy pegajosa.
Es muy pegajosa.
Ok. Actuación. Actuación. Nuestra actuación es de 5 estrellas. Excelente servicio.
Okay, another very common ending is the ending D-E-Z. D-E-Z. Des. For example,
Rigidez. Rigidez. La rigidez del cartel impide que se doble.
oh, that's a very nice example, man.
Ok, another one. Timidez. Timidez. Ok. La timidez es un enemigo para desarrollar tu potencial.
Do you think?
Sí, claro. Si tuviera timidez no saldría aquí en un video.
But you're timid.
Sí, pero no esa clase de timidez. Soy tímido con las chicas.
Okay, guys, so the last ending that we have here is R-I-Z. R-I-Z.
Yep.
Riz. For example,
Nariz. Nariz. Me gustan mucho los piercings o las perforaciones en la nariz. Okay, another one. Cicatriz. Cicatriz. La cicatriz de mi pecho es muy grande.
Why do you have one scar in
Yeah, I have
No. Okay, guys, so as you have seen, we have many endings. These are normally feminine.
Yeah.
However, obviously we have some exceptions. But stick to this. 90% of the times these endings are or belong to words that are feminine. Okay? Now let's see here some exceptions and also something very interesting. So for example, we have foto.
La foto.
Yeah, and it is la foto. However, la foto is the short word for fotografía,
Sí.
which actually ends in A. Or even we have
La moto.
la moto, which is the short word for the abbreviation of motocicleta. Good. Or even we have
compu.
la compu. Some people say la compu, which is the short version,
Yeah.
the abbreviation of computadora.
Claro.
Exactly. However, we do have some examples of this. So remember, we have, for example,
Mano.
la mano.
Yeah.
We say gente, gente.
Noche.
Noche, that's another one. Very good.
Piel.
No, la piel, por supuesto. La
Ajá.
piel. Good.
Common one. La clase.
La clase, la clase. So this is the thing. You just need to be on the lookout for these words, for these feminine words that are rather irregular and they don't seem to follow any other rule.
Yep. That's it for today, my beautiful friends of SpanishPod101.com. If you like this video, give us your thumbs up, share this video with all our learners, and write your comments down there. Subscribe to this channel, click on the notifications, and see you in our next video. Hasta luego. Pero si le ponen la canción, le da una depresión.
Oye, ¿por qué estás vestido así? ¿Por qué está la música de Halo de fondo?
Este es el libro de las sílabas prohibidas en el español. El secreto de nuestros antepasados.
Cuidado. Hello there, my beautiful friends from SpanishBall101.com. As you might know, my name is Diego.
And I'm Efraín.
And in this video, we're going to talk about forbidden syllables in Spanish.
Yeah.
Okay, so you should not use these syllables. Okay, guys, so if you're interested, enjoy this video. Woo! Okay, guys, so one of these forbidden syllables is ZE. Yeah, that's right, ZE. So, how do we pronounce this if this is forbidden in Spanish? Even though in some other languages you require a Z in some words, in Spanish it doesn't require.
Yeah.
So, how do you pronounce it? It is worth mentioning here that the Z and the S have the same pronunciation, at least in Mexican Spanish. Okay, so in this case, casa, as in house, is the same pronunciation as in casa, like hunting. Exactly. So, how do we pronounce then Z and E? Well, for that, we're going to use either the C and the E or the S and the E.
And the E.
For example,
Okay. For example, cena. Cena. Another one. Ceja. Ceja. Or cerebro. Cerebro. Okay? We also can use SE, like semana. Semana. Next one. Senador. Senador. Or semestre. Semestre.
Nice, very good, very
We
good.
don't have a difference.
We actually only have one word in all the Spanish language that has this syllable, Z-E, and that's zeta. Just zeta.
Zeta. Yeah.
Okay, so here, guys, note that even though it is written with Z, as we said, the pronunciation is the same, basically. So zeta, or senador.
Senador.
Yeah.
Ceja.
Ceja, cemento. Now, the next forbidden syllable here is Z-I. Yeah, the same as Z-E, now we have Z-I. So, the same rules apply here. If you want to pronounce this, as in some other languages, you need to put this Z and I. In Spanish, we can just use it with either C-I or S-I. So, let's give you some examples.
Okay, let's start with C-I. The first one, cilantro. Cilantro. Okay, the next one, cine. Cine. The next one, cicatriz. Cicatriz. Okay, let's go with the words with S-I. First one, silla. Silla. Next one, sílaba. Sílaba. Or the next one, simio. Okay. Simio. Remember that these are syllables. So this rule applies either it is written in the beginning or at the end.
Or in the middle, maybe.
Or in the middle, yeah. We have this example, Ceci. Ceci, which is the nickname of Cecilia.
Yeah, and that uses the two syllables, C and C.
Yeah, Ceci.
Yeah, or another one with C-E. Okay, carnicería. Carnicería. Good. Okay, guys, so in this case, we don't have an exception, so we don't have a word that actually has Z and I. Such as in the previous one, we have zeta, but in this case, we don't have Z and I.
Wait. What happens when we have a word like zigzag?
Oh, it's good that you
Zigzag.
mentioned that. Yeah, even though zigzag is written with Z-I, okay, we have some words that we call extranjerismos. Extranjerismos, which is like foreign words that are written like that. So now let's give you some words that are actually written with Z-I and Z-E.
Yep.
As a friend said, we have the word zigzag that is written Z-I. But this is an example of an extranjerismo. Another word that is written Z-I is jacuzzi.
Yeah.
Jacuzzi. Or even we have Nazi. All of them are foreign words.
Yep.
That's why they are written Z-I.
Or for Z-E, we also have Zeppelin. Zeppelin. Or Zen. Of course. Or even we have the country, Nueva Zelanda. Nueva Zelanda.
Nice, good.
Yeah.
Now, last but not the least, what happens with the verbs that end with ZAR when we conjugate them in the pretérito indefinido? So when you conjugate these verbs, you need to change the Z for a C. Okay, you need to change them. So for example, we have the verbs comenzar, we have empezar, or even we have cruzar.
Okay.
So when you conjugate these verbs with the pretérito indefinido, you're going to change it. For example, yo comencé.
Okay.
It's not written Z-E. It's C-E. Comencé.
Comencé.
Or empecé. Or even yo crucé.
Okay.
Good.
Good. That's it for today, my beautiful family of SpanishPod101.com. If you like this video, please share it with other learners. Number 2, click on the notifications so you can know when we upload a new video. Subscribe to this beautiful channel. Write your comments down there. We want to read you. And give us your thumbs up.
Exactly.
See you in our next video. Hasta luego.
See you guys.
Diego, me voy a ir pronto. Tengo que irme a mi casa. Porque mañana vamos a ir a Los Cabos. Mi familia y yo iremos a visitar a mis primos.
¿Me voy a ir? ¿Irme a mi casa? Vamos a... Iremos a... Hello there, my beautiful friends from SpanishPod101.com. As you might know, my name is Diego.
And I'm Efraín.
And today we're going to check the topic ir versus irse. When should we use each verb?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are interested, guys, enjoy this video. Woo! Okay guys, so in Spanish we have the reflexive verbs, and a reflexive verb could be seen generally as a verb that you do to yourself. Sometimes you can translate it like that: yourself, myself, himself, herself, etc. And we can divide these verbs into categories: the ones that are easily translatable and the ones that change completely the meaning.
Okay.
One of these examples of the easily translatable verbs is levantar and levantarse. So levantar is to lift, and levantarse, on the other hand, is like to lift yourself, or in other words, to get up.
Okay.
Okay, good. But we also have, in other category, some verbs that change completely the meaning when they turn into a reflexive form, such as the verb acordar and acordarse. Okay, so acordar could be translated as to settle, or to agree on something, and acordarse on the other hand is to remember.
Okay. Another example of this is ir and irse. Ir, of course, means to go, but irse changes its meaning. Irse could be roughly translated to go away or to leave.
Yeah, that's correct, exactly. Now let's check first of all how to conjugate the verb ir and its uses. So the verb ir, as Efrain said, means to go.
Yeah.
And it requires a destination. It requires the preposition a plus a destination. For example, you can say voy al parque. Voy al parque. So why am I saying al? Well, because you need the preposition a plus el parque. Okay, but remember that in Spanish we have the contracted articles. So we would say voy al parque. Or in the feminine, voy a la iglesia. For example, voy a la iglesia. Or we also have the plurals. As in the example that Efrain said, voy a Los Cabos. Voy a Los Cabos. And also feminine plural. For example, voy a las montañas. Voy a las montañas.
Yeah. Or you can use the verb ir to talk about the future. And you will use this structure. Ir conjugated plus a plus the verb in its infinitive form. For example, voy a comer pizza mañana.
Okay guys, now let's see the verb irse. Irse is a reflexive verb because you know this because the verb ends in se. All the verbs that ends in se are reflexive and they need a reflexive pronoun. Irse is roughly translated as to leave or to go away.
Yeah.
Okay.
And remember the reflexive pronouns. Me, te, se, nos, se. Okay? Therefore, the conjugation would be me voy, te vas, él, ella, usted se va, nosotros nos vamos, ellos, ellas, ustedes se van.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, now let's look at some examples of this. Now, the verb irse focus on the action of leaving a place. Remember that ir is talking about destination. It's focused on where to go, whereas irse is where you are leaving from, Okay, so let's see here two examples. So the first one is Efraín, es un poco tarde, pues yo creo que ya me voy. Okay, so that's the first example. Another example is, ya son las 3, pues me voy a mis clases. Okay, so in this case, me voy a mis clases is emphasizing the fact that I'm going to leave to go to my lessons. Okay, and just in the previous example, when I say es tarde, ya me voy, you're just saying, okay, I will leave. Okay, I'm leaving. So for example, this verb is basically emphasizing the fact that you are leaving, whereas ir is rather for emphasizing the fact that you are going to a place. So remember, ir is attached to a destination and you're emphasizing the destination, whereas irse is emphasizing where you are living, okay? From where you are living. So for example, you can say, es tarde, ya me voy. Or even, ya son las 3, me voy a mis clases.
Okay.
In this case, you're saying me voy a mis clases. That means I'm leaving to my lessons. Okay, so I need to go from here because I need to go to my lessons. And in the previous example, I'm saying it is late, es tarde, ya me voy.
Yeah.
I'm leaving, or I need to leave, basically. Finally, let's focus on the sentence that Efrain said in the skit. Me voy a ir pronto.
Okay.
Me voy a ir pronto. So here the question might be, are we combining irse and ir? How does that function? Because me voy a ir pronto, so me voy is to leave and ir is to go. So am I saying I am leaving to go soon? No, that doesn't make any sense at all. So basically here what is happening is that actually we're using the future form voy a with the reflexive irse, that is me voy. Okay, since here you are combining the verb irse plus the future voy a, what you can do is you can place the reflexive pronoun either before the conjugated verb or after the infinitive, and you attach the pronoun to the infinitive.
Okay.
Therefore, you can say me voy a ir pronto or voy a irme pronto.
Cool.
Okay, and it makes much more sense. So I'm going to leave soon.
Yeah.
That's what you are saying.
Another example of this is the verb to eat. Comer. Comer, of course, means to eat. But when you want to use it in its reflexive form, it means to eat up.
That's
Comerse. Comerse. To eat up. So let's imagine that you are craving some tacos. So you could say, me voy a comer unos tacos.
Oh. Me voy a comer unos tacos. So in this case, he's doing basically the same as me voy a ir pronto.
Yeah.
So the reflexive verb is comerse and you attach it to the future, voy a. That's why he's saying me voy a comer unos tacos. Or in other words, he could have also said voy a comerme unos tacos.
Yeah.
Oye, Fra, vamos a comernos unos tacos, ¿no?
Sí, vamos. Aleluya. That's it for today, my beautiful family of SpanishPod101.com. If you enjoyed this video, please give us your thumbs up, share it with other learners, write your comments down there, click on the notifications, and subscribe to this channel so you can see us more often.
Exactly. Or in our newest releases.
Yeah. So, see you in our next video. Hasta luego.
See you guys. Yeah.
Hola a todos, soy Víctor Trejo. Hi everyone, I'm Víctor Trejo. In this lesson, you'll learn how to give someone your phone number in Spanish.
This is Mark Lee, and he's at City Hall registering his address. A civil servant who is helping him says, "Your phone number, please."
Su número de teléfono, por favor.
Listen to the conversation and focus on the response. Note, the civil servant in this conversation uses formal Spanish. Ready?
Su número de teléfono, por favor.
Mi número de teléfono es 50-5534-2112.
Once more with the English translation.
Su número de teléfono, por favor.
Your phone number, please.
Mi número de teléfono es 50-5534-2112.
My phone number is 50-5534-2112.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how the civil servant says, "Your phone number, please"?
Su número de teléfono, por favor.
Let's start with
Número de teléfono.
meaning phone number.
Número de teléfono.
First is
Número.
number.
Número. Número.
Note, in Spanish, all nouns have grammatical gender and are either singular or plural.
Número.
Is masculine and singular, a fact that determines the form of other words in the sentence. Next is
De.
of.
De. De.
Last is
Teléfono.
phone.
Teléfono. Teléfono.
Note,
Teléfono.
translates as telephone or phone. We'll use the abbreviated version, phone, as this will include various kinds of phones, including mobile phones, landlines, and so forth. Together, it's
Número de teléfono.
this literally means number of telephone or telephone's number, but it translates as phone number.
Número de teléfono.
Before this is
Su.
meaning your in this formal context.
Su. Su.
Note,
Su.
fundamentally means his, hers, or its, but it's also a formal way to say your when speaking to someone directly using formal Spanish. Now, you might be more familiar with
Tú.
an informal word for your, as in
Tu número de teléfono.
your phone number. As this is a city office setting, the formal form
Su.
is more appropriate. Altogether,
Su número de teléfono.
literally means your number of phone, but it translates as your phone number.
Su número de teléfono.
Last is
Por favor.
meaning please.
Por favor. Por favor.
Altogether, it's
Su número de teléfono, por favor.
your phone number, please.
Su número de teléfono, por favor.
Remember this request. You'll hear it again later. Let's take a closer look at the response. Do you remember how Mark says, "My phone number is 50-5534-2112.
Mi número de teléfono es 50-5534-2112.
Do you remember how to say phone number?
Número de teléfono.
Phone number.
Número de teléfono.
Before this is
Mi.
meaning my.
Mi. Mi.
Together, it's
Mi número de teléfono.
my phone number.
Mi número de teléfono.
Next is
Es.
as in my phone number is.
Es. Es. Es.
Is from the verb
Ser.
to be.
Ser.
Together, it's
Mi número de teléfono es.
my phone number is.
Mi número de teléfono es.
Next is Mark's phone number.
50-5534-2112. 50-5534-2112.
In Mexico, the most common way of giving your phone number is 2 digits at a time. However, giving your phone number 1 digit at a time is perfectly understandable. After each group of digits, include a short pause in place of the hyphen. For example,
50-5534-2112.
altogether it's
Mi número de teléfono es 50-5534-2112.
My phone number is 50-5534-2112.
Mi número de teléfono es 50-5534-2112.
The pattern is
Mi número de teléfono es phone number.
my phone number is phone number.
Mi número de teléfono es phone number.
To use this pattern, simply replace the phone number placeholder with your phone number. Imagine your phone number is 1232567800.
1, 2, 3, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0, 0. 1, 2, 3, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0, 0.
Say, my phone number is 1232567800. Ready?
Mi número de teléfono es 1, 2, 3, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0, 0.
My phone number is 1232567800.
Mi número de teléfono es 1, 2, 3, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0, 0.
Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
Mi número de teléfono es 50-5534-2112.
Mi número de teléfono es 1, 2, 3, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0, 0.
Mi número de teléfono es 43-2156-7854.
Mi número de teléfono es 26-7877-3325.
6, 5, 7, 8, 9, 0. 2, 2, 8, 4. Did you notice how I omitted mi número de teléfono es? Seis, 5, 7, 8, 9, 0. 2, 2, 8, 4.
657-890-2284. When directly responding to someone's request, it's often possible to omit part of the response. Here, by simply giving your phone number, there's no need to say,
Mi número de teléfono es
my phone number is. The pattern is
phone number.
phone number. You should be aware of this shortcut, but for this lesson, we'll use the pattern
Mi número de teléfono es phone number.
My phone number is phone number.
Mi número de teléfono es phone number.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say phone number? Número de teléfono. Número de teléfono. And how to say my phone number? Mi número de teléfono. Mi número de teléfono. And how to say is, as in my phone number is? Es. Es. Do you remember how Mark says, my phone number is 5055342112?
Mi número de teléfono es 50-5534-2112.
Mi número de teléfono es 50-5534-2112. Do you remember how to say you're in a formal situation? Su. Su. And how to say please? Por favor. Por favor. Do you remember how the clerk says, your phone number, please?
Su número de teléfono, por favor.
Su número de teléfono, por favor.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Karen Lee, and your phone number is
55-8920-3342.
Respond to the civil servant's request. Ready?
Su número de teléfono, por favor.
Mi número de teléfono es 55-8920-3342.
Listen again and repeat.
Mi número de teléfono es 55-8920-3342. Mi número de teléfono es 55-8920-3342.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Ben Lee, and your phone number is
55-0932-7899.
Ready?
Su número de teléfono, por favor.
Mi número de teléfono es 550932-7899.
Listen again and repeat.
Mi número de teléfono es 550932-7899. Mi número de teléfono es 550932-7899.
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Sylvia Ramirez and your phone number is
43-2156-7854.
ready?
Su número de teléfono, por favor.
Mi número de teléfono es 43-2156-7854.
Listen again and repeat.
Mi número de teléfono es 43-2156-7854. Mi número de teléfono es 43-2156-7854.
This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again, so try anytime you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Hasta la próxima. See you next time.
Now you know how to give your phone number in Spanish. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Hola a todos. Soy Víctor Trejo. Hi everyone. I'm Víctor Trejo. In this lesson, you'll learn how to talk about your family in Spanish.
This is Ben Lee. He's at a coffee shop with his classmate, Sylvia Ramirez. Ben is showing her some pictures. She points to one of them and asks, "Is this your family?"
¿Es tu familia?
Listen to the conversation and focus on the response. Ready?
¿Es tu familia?
Sí, mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo.
Once more with the English translation.
¿Es tu familia?
Is this your family?
Sí, mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo.
Yes, my father, my mother, my sister, and me.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Sylvia asks, "Is this your family?"
¿Es tu familia?
Let's start with the word
Familia.
family.
Familia. Familia.
In Spanish, all nouns have grammatical gender and are either singular or plural.
Familia.
Is feminine and singular, a fact that can determine the form of other words in the sentence. Before
Familia.
is
Tú.
your.
Tú. Tú.
Together,
Tu familia.
your family.
Tu familia.
Moving to the start of the sentence,
Es.
is.
Es. Es. Es.
Comes from the verb,
Ser.
meaning to be. Altogether, it's.
¿Es tu familia?
This literally means, is your family, but it translates as, is this your family? Note, this is understood from context. Also, note the rising intonation of the sentence to indicate that it's a question.
¿Es tu familia?
Remember this question. You'll hear it again later. Let's take a closer look at the response. Do you remember how Ben says, "Yes, my father, my mother, my sister, and me"?
Sí, mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo.
First is the expression,
Sí.
meaning yes.
Sí. Sí.
It answers Sylvia's yes or no question. Is this your family?
¿Es tu familia?
After this, Ben points to the picture and says,
Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo.
first is
Mi papá,
my father,
mi papá. Mi,
my,
mi, mi. Papá,
father,
papá, papá.
together it's
Mi papá,
my father.
mi papá.
Next is
Mamá,
mother,
mamá, mamá. Mi mamá,
my mother.
mi mamá.
After this is
Hermana,
sister,
hermana, hermana. Mi hermana,
my sister.
mi hermana.
Next is
Y,
and.
y, y.
Last is,
Yo,
which translates as me in this context.
yo, yo.
Altogether, it's
Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo.
my father, my mother, my sister, and me.
Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo.
The pattern is
Mi family member, mi family member, mi family member y yo.
my family member, my family member, my family member, and me. To use this pattern, simply replace the family member placeholder with the members of your family. Imagine your family members are your father, your mother, your brother, and you.
Hermano,
Brother,
hermano, hermano.
say, my father, my mother, my brother, and me.
Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermano y yo.
My father, my mother, my brother, and me.
Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermano y yo.
Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo. Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo.
Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermano y yo. Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermano y yo.
Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo. Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo.
Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana, mi hermano y yo. Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana, mi hermano y yo.
Mis papás y yo. Mis papás y yo. Did you notice how I replaced mi papá, mi mamá with mis papás? Mis papás y yo.
My parents and me. The phrase
Mis papás.
literally means my father's, but translates as my parents.
Mis papás. Papás.
Parents.
Papás. Papás. Papás.
Is plural, a fact that will determine the form of other words in the sentence. Before this is
Mis.
my.
Mis. Mis. Mis.
Is plural to agree with.
Papás.
Mis papás y yo.
My parents and me.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember the word for yes? Sí. Sí. And the word for father? Papá. Papá. And the phrase for my father? Mi papá. Mi papá. Do you remember the word for mother? Mamá. Mamá. Do you remember the word for sister? Hermana. Hermana. Do you remember the word for and? Y. Y. And how to say me? Yo. Yo. Do you remember how Ben says, my father, my mother, my sister, and me?
Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo.
Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana, y yo. Do you remember the word for family? Familia. Familia. And the informal phrase for your family? Tu familia. Tu familia. Do you remember how Sylvia asked, is this your family?
¿Es tu familia?
¿Es tu familia? Do you remember the word for brother? Hermano. Hermano.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Sasha, Ben's younger sister. Respond to your friend's question referring to the photo. Don't forget to include the word for yes at the beginning of your response. Ready?
¿Es tu familia?
Sí, mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermano y yo.
Listen again and repeat.
Sí, mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermano y yo. Sí, mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermano y yo.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Ben's classmate, Ricardo. You have a father, mother, and sister. Ready?
¿Es tu familia? Sí. Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo.
Listen again and repeat.
Sí. Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo. Sí. Mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana y yo.
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Ben's classmate and language exchange partner, Sylvia. You have a father, mother, sister, and brother. Ready?
¿Es tu familia?
Sí, mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana, mi hermano y yo.
Listen again and repeat.
Sí, mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana, mi hermano y yo. Sí, mi papá, mi mamá, mi hermana, mi hermano y yo.
This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again, so try anytime you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Hasta la próxima. See you next time.
Now you know how to talk about your family in Spanish. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Hola a todos. Soy Víctor Trejo. Hi everyone, I'm Víctor Trejo. In this lesson, you'll learn how to talk about your family as an adult with children.
This is Karen Lee, and she's studying with her Spanish teacher, Sonia Hernandez Acevedo. Sonia notices a picture on her computer and asks, "Is this your family?"
¿Es su familia?
Listen to the conversation and focus on the response. Note, Sonia uses formal Spanish. Ready?
¿Es su familia?
Sí, mi esposo, mi hijo, mi hija y yo.
Once more with the English translation.
¿Es su familia?
Is this your family?
Sí, mi esposo, mi hijo, mi hija y yo.
Yes, my husband, my son, my daughter, and me.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Sonia asks, "Is this your family?"
¿Es su familia?
Let's start with the word
Familia.
family.
Familia. Familia.
In Spanish, all nouns have grammatical gender and are either singular or plural.
Familia.
Is feminine and singular, a fact that determines the form of other words in the sentence. Before this is
Su.
meaning your in this formal context.
Su. Su.
Note,
Su.
fundamentally means his, hers, or its, but it's also a formal way to say your when speaking to someone directly using formal Spanish. Now, you might be more familiar with
Tú.
an informal word for your, as in
Tu familia.
your family, informal. As this is a conversation between two adults that don't know each other very well, the formal form
Su.
is more appropriate. Altogether,
Su familia.
means your family.
Su familia.
Moving to the start of the sentence,
Es.
is
Es. Es. Es.
comes from the verb
Ser.
meaning to be. Altogether, it's
¿Es su familia?
this literally means is your family, but it translates as is this your family?
¿Es su familia?
Note, this is understood from context. Also, note the rising intonation of the sentence to indicate that it's a question.
¿Es su familia?
Remember this question. You'll hear it again later. Let's take a closer look at the response. Do you remember how Karen says, yes, my husband, my son, my daughter, and me?
Sí, mi esposo, mi hijo, mi hija y yo.
First is the word
Sí,
meaning yes.
sí, sí.
It answers Sonia's yes or no question. Is this your family?
¿Es su familia?
After this, Karen points to the picture and says,
Mi esposo, mi hijo, mi hija y yo.
first is
Mi esposo,
my husband,
mi esposo. Mi,
my,
mi, mi. Esposo,
husband,
esposo, esposo.
together it's
Mi esposo,
my husband.
mi esposo.
Next is
Hijo,
son,
hijo, hijo. Mi hijo,
my son.
mi hijo.
After this is
Hija,
daughter,
hija, hija. Mi hija,
my daughter.
mi hija.
Next is
Y,
and.
y, y.
Last is the word
Yo,
which translates as me in this context.
yo, yo.
Altogether
Mi esposo, mi hijo, mi hija y yo.
means my husband, my son, my daughter, and me.
Mi esposo, mi hijo, mi hija y yo.
The pattern is
Mi family member, mi family member, mi family member y yo.
my family member, my family member, my family member, and me. To use this pattern, simply replace the family member placeholder with the members of your family. Imagine your family members are your wife, your son, your daughter, and you.
Esposa,
Is wife.
esposa, esposa.
Say, my wife, my son, my daughter, and me.
Mi esposa, mi hijo, mi hija y yo.
My wife, my son, my daughter, and me.
Mi esposa, mi hijo, mi hija y yo.
Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
Mi esposo, mi hijo, mi hija y yo. Mi esposo, mi hijo, mi hija y yo.
Mi esposa, mi hijo, mi hija y yo. Mi esposa, mi hijo, mi hija y yo.
Mi esposa, mi hija y yo. Mi esposa, mi hija y yo.
Mi esposo, mi hijo y yo. Mi esposo, mi hijo y yo.
Mi esposo, mis hijos y yo. Mi esposo, mis hijos y yo.
Did you notice how the last speaker only names 3 family members?
Mi esposo, mis hijos y yo.
My husband, my sons, and me.
Mis hijos.
means my sons in this case.
Mis hijos. Mis hijos.
Remember, in Spanish, all nouns have grammatical gender and are either singular or plural.
Hijos.
Is masculine and plural, a fact that determines the form of other words in the sentence.
Hijos.
Sons.
Hijos. Hijos. Hijos.
Is the plural form of
Hijo.
son.
Hijo.
Note:
Hijos.
can refer to a group of sons or a mixed group including at least one son and one daughter. However, when referring to a group of only daughters, use the word.
Hijas.
Before this,
Mis.
my.
Mis. Mis. Mis.
Is masculine and plural to agree with.
Hijos.
Together, it's
Mis hijos.
my sons.
Mis hijos.
To say my daughters,
Mis hijas. Mis hijas.
you should be aware of the plural form, but we'll use singular nouns in this lesson.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember the word for yes? Sí. Sí. And the word for husband? Esposo. Esposo. Do you remember how to say my husband? Mi esposo. Mi esposo. Do you remember the word for son? Hijo. Hijo. Do you remember the word for daughter? Hija. Hija. Now, do you remember the word for and? Y. Y. And the word for me? Yo. Yo. Do you remember how Karen says, my husband, my son, my daughter, and me?
Mi esposo, mi hijo, mi hija y yo.
Mi esposo, mi hijo, mi hija y yo. And the word for family? Familia. Familia. And the formal phrase for your family? Su familia. Su familia. Do you remember how Miss Hernandez asks, is this your family?
¿Es su familia?
¿Es su familia? Now, do you remember the word meaning wife? Esposa. Esposa.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Mark's colleague, Jorge Soto. You have a wife and a daughter. Respond to Mark's question referring to the photo. Don't forget to include the word for yes at the beginning of your response. Ready?
¿Es tu familia? Sí,
Mi esposa, mi hija y yo.
Listen again and repeat.
sí,
Mi esposa, mi hija y yo.
sí.
Mi esposa, mi hija y yo.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Mark's boss, Rosa Reyes. You have a husband, daughter, and son. Ready?
¿Es su familia?
Sí, mi esposo, mi hija, mi hijo y yo.
Listen again and repeat.
Sí, mi esposo, mi hija, mi hijo y yo. Sí, mi esposo, mi hija, mi hijo y yo.
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Mark's friend, Rita Rios. You have a husband and a son. Ready?
¿Es tu familia?
Sí, mi esposo, mi hijo y yo.
Listen again and repeat.
Sí, mi esposo, mi hijo y yo. Sí, mi esposo, mi hijo y yo.
Did you notice how Mark uses
¿Tu familia?
when asking about his friends and colleagues' families?
¿Es tu familia?
Is this your family? In less formal situations, like speaking with a friend or close colleague, the less formal
Tú,
is more appropriate.
tú,
Your.
tú, tú.
Hola a todos. Soy Víctor Trejo. Hi everyone. I'm Víctor Trejo. In this lesson, you'll learn how to greet someone at different times of the day in Spanish.
This is Sonia Hernandez, the Lee family's Spanish teacher. Her schedule for the day is Mark Lee at 9 a.m., Karen Lee at 12 p.m., Ben Lee at 7 p.m. Listen to the greeting exchange between the three pairs. Pay attention to the time of day.
Buenos días, profesora Hernández.
Buenos días, ingeniero Lee.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, señora Lee.
Buenas noches, profesora.
Buenas noches, Ben.
Once more with the English translation.
Buenos días, profesora Hernández.
Good morning, Miss Hernandez.
Buenos días, ingeniero Lee.
Good morning, Mr. Lee.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Buenas tardes, señora Lee.
Good afternoon, Miss Lee.
Buenas noches, profesora.
Good evening, teacher.
Buenas noches, Ben.
Good evening, Ben.
Let's take a closer look at each of these expressions.
In the first conversation, do you remember how Mark says, Good morning, Miss Hernandez?
Buenos días, profesora Hernández.
First is,
Buenos días.
Good morning.
Buenos días.
Let's start with
días,
days.
días, días.
In Spanish, all nouns have grammatical gender and are either singular or plural.
Días,
Is masculine and plural, a fact that will determine the form of other words in the sentence. Next is
buenos,
good.
buenos, buenos, buenos.
Is masculine and plural to agree with.
Días,
Together,
buenos días.
literally means good days, but it translates as good morning in this context.
Buenos días.
This is the standard greeting during the morning.
Buenos días.
Next is
Profesora,
meaning teacher. Since it can also be used as a form of direct address, here, Miss is used in the English translation instead.
profesora, profesora, profesora.
Is feminine singular. Finally, the teacher's family name,
Hernández, Hernández, Hernández.
together,
Profesora Hernández,
Miss Hernandez.
profesora Hernández.
Altogether,
Buenos días, profesora Hernández.
good morning, Miss Hernandez.
Buenos días, profesora Hernández.
When including a person's name in a greeting, it's more common to say the person's name after the greeting. Note, using a person's family name in a greeting may come across as more formal. Do you remember the teacher's response? Good morning, Mr. Lee.
Buenos días, ingeniero Lee.
First is
Buenos días,
good morning.
buenos días.
Next is,
Ingeniero,
which literally means engineer, but translates as Mr. in this context.
ingeniero, ingeniero.
The teacher addresses Mark with his job title, as a sign of respect. In English, this would be similar to calling someone Mr.
Ingeniero,
Is masculine and singular. Finally, Mark's family name in Spanish.
Lee, Lee, Lee.
Altogether, it's
Buenos días, ingeniero Lee.
literally good days, Engineer Lee, but translates as good morning, Mr. Lee.
Buenos días, ingeniero Lee.
Note, this exchange is formal. In the second conversation, which takes place at noon, do you remember how Karen says, "Good afternoon"?
Buenas tardes.
Note that Karen's greeting is slightly less formal, as she doesn't say the teacher's name.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Buenas tardes.
Let's start with
Tardes.
afternoons.
Tardes. Tardes. Tardes.
Is feminine and plural, a fact that will determine the form of other words in the sentence. Next is
Buenas.
good.
Buenas. Buenas. Buenas.
Is feminine and plural to agree with.
Tardes.
Together,
Buenas tardes.
literally means good afternoons, but it translates as good afternoon. This is the standard greeting from midday on.
Buenas tardes.
Do you remember how the teacher replies, "Good afternoon, Miss Lee"?
Buenas tardes, señora Lee.
First is,
Buenas tardes.
"Good afternoon."
Buenas tardes.
Next is,
Señora.
meaning miss.
Señora. Señora.
This is an honorific for women. It's similar to the term miss in English. Finally, Karen's family name in Spanish.
Lee. Lee. Lee.
Altogether, it's,
Buenas tardes, señora Lee.
"Good afternoon, Miss Lee."
Buenas tardes, señora Lee.
In the third conversation, which takes place in the evening at 7 p.m., do you remember how Ben says, "Good evening, teacher"?
Buenas noches, profesora.
First is,
Buenas noches.
"Good evening."
Buenas noches.
Let's start with
Noches.
nights.
Noches. Noches. Noches.
Is feminine and plural, a fact that will determine the form of other words in the sentence. Next is
Buenas.
good.
Buenas. Buenas. Buenas.
Is feminine and plural to agree with
Noches.
together.
Buenas noches.
Literally means good nights, but translates as good evening. This is the standard greeting during the evening.
Buenas noches.
After this is
Profesora.
teacher.
Profesora.
This is the feminine singular form of the word.
Profesor.
Adding her title increases the formality of the greeting. Altogether, it's
Buenas noches, profesora.
good evening, teacher.
Buenas noches, profesora.
Do you remember how the teacher replies, "Good evening, Ben"?
Buenas noches, Ben.
First is
Buenas noches.
good evening.
Buenas noches.
After this is Ben's name in Spanish.
Ven. Ven. Ven.
Since he is a young adult, she refers to him by his first name. Altogether, it's
Buenas noches, Ben.
good evening, Ben.
Buenas noches, Ben.
The greeting
Buenos días.
is used during the morning, from early in the day until around 11:45 a.m. or so.
Buenas tardes.
Is used from around 12 p.m. until it gets dark, usually until 6:45 p.m. or so.
Buenas noches.
Is used after the sunset, usually from 7 p.m. In this lesson, Karen is addressed as
Señora Lee. Señora.
is an honorific used for married women. To address an unmarried woman, there's another honorific,
Señorita.
meaning miss.
Señorita.
The word,
Señor.
meaning Mr., is used to address adult men in general, similar to the way Mr. is used in English. In work environments or when the situation is formal, it's common in Mexico to use job titles if they're known. In this lesson, for example, Mark called his teacher,
Profesora Hernández.
and the teacher called him,
Ingeniero Lee.
Let's look at the greetings once more. Listen and repeat or speak along.
Buenos días. Buenos días. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. Buenas noches. Buenas noches. Buenas tardes, señora Lee. Buenas tardes, señora Lee. Buenas noches, profesora. Buenas noches, profesora. Hola. Buenos días. Hola. Buenos días. Did you notice how I added the word hola before buenos días?
The greeting
Hola,
means hello.
hola, hola.
This is the most basic way to say hello. It's the most common greeting. Pronunciation note: the H is silent.
Hola,
You can use this greeting alone,
hola.
or you can combine this greeting with other greetings you have learned. For example,
Hola, buenos días.
hi, good morning.
Hola, buenos días. Hola, buenas tardes.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say good morning? Buenos días. Buenos días. And how to say good afternoon? Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. And how to say good evening? Buenas noches. Buenas noches. Do you remember the word for female teacher? Profesora. Profesora.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Ben Lee, and you're attending your morning class. Respond to your female teacher by saying, "Good morning, teacher." Ready?
Buenos días, Ben.
Buenos días, profesora.
Listen again and repeat.
Buenos días, profesora. Buenos días, profesora.
Let's try another. Imagine you are Mark Lee, and you're attending your afternoon class. Respond by saying, "Good afternoon." Ready?
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Listen again and repeat.
Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes.
Let's try one more. Now, imagine you are Karen Lee, and you see your neighbor in the evening. Respond by saying, "Good evening." Ready?
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Listen again and repeat.
Buenas noches. Buenas noches.
Helicóptero. Helicopter. Helicóptero. Helicóptero. Helicopter. El presidente llegó en helicóptero al campo militar. The president arrived at the military camp by helicopter. El presidente llegó en helicóptero al campo militar. Negro. Black. Negro. Negro. Black. La dama de negro. The woman in black. La dama de negro. Marrón. Brown. Marrón. Marrón. Brown. Mi mochila es marrón. My backpack is brown. Mi mochila es marrón. Gris. Gray. Gris. Gris. Gray. El gris no es un color muy llamativo. Gray is not a very flashy color. El gris no es un color muy llamativo. Descansar. Rest. Descansar. Descansar. Rest. ¡Qué ganas de descansar! I really want to rest. ¡Qué ganas de descansar! Escuchar. Hear. Escuchar. Escuchar. Hear. ¿Quieres escuchar la canción de nuevo? Do you want to hear the song again? ¿Quieres escuchar la canción de nuevo? Querer. Want. Querer. Querer. Want. ¿Cómo no voy a querer las patatas fritas? Of course I'm going to want the French fries. ¿Cómo no voy a querer Las patatas fritas. Asqueroso. Disgusting. Asqueroso. Asqueroso. Disgusting. La araña es asquerosa. This spider is disgusting. La araña es asquerosa. 11. 11. 11. 11. 11. Este centro comercial tiene 11 pisos. This department store has 11 floors. Este centro comercial tiene 11 pisos. 12. 12. 12. 12. 12. ¿Está listo el pedido de la mesa 12? Is the order for table 12 ready? ¿Está listo el pedido de la mesa 12? 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. Tiene 13 años. He is 13 years old. Tiene 13 años. Correo electrónico. Email. Correo electrónico. Correo electrónico. Email. ¿Cuál es tu dirección de correo electrónico? What's your email address? ¿Cuál es tu dirección de correo electrónico? Teléfono móvil. Cellular phone. Teléfono móvil. Teléfono móvil. Cellular phone. La mujer envió un mensaje de texto con su teléfono móvil. The woman texted on her cellular phone. La mujer envió un mensaje de texto con su teléfono móvil. Mensaje de texto. Text message. Mensaje de texto. Mensaje de texto. Text message. Me contactó vía mensaje de texto. She contacted me via text message. Me contactó vía mensaje de texto. Boca. Mouth. Boca. Boca. Mouth. Se me hace agua la boca cuando huelo tacos. My mouth waters when I smell tacos. Se me hace agua la boca cuando huelo tacos. Mejilla. Cheek. Mejilla. Mejilla. Cheek. Le dio un cálido beso en la mejilla. He gave her a warm kiss on the cheek. Le dio un cálido beso en la mejilla. Nariz. Nose. Nariz. Nariz. Nose. Tiene la nariz muy grande. He has a very big nose. Tiene la nariz muy grande. Cuaderno. Notebook. Cuaderno. Cuaderno. Notebook. El hombre está escribiendo en el cuaderno. The man is writing in the notebook. El hombre está escribiendo en el cuaderno. Lápiz. Pencil. Lápiz. Lápiz. Pencil. Traza las líneas con un lápiz. Draw the lines with a pencil. Traza las líneas con un lápiz. Goma de borrar. Eraser. Goma de borrar. Goma de borrar. Eraser. Siempre arrugo la hoja cuando uso una goma de borrar. I always wrinkle the paper when I use an eraser. Siempre arrugo la hoja cuando uso una goma de borrar. Blanco. White. Blanco. Blanco. White. El pan blanco no es bueno para ti. White bread is not healthy for you. El pan blanco no es bueno para ti. Roja. Red. Roja. Roja. Red. Me pongo roja cuando tengo calor. I turn red when I'm hot. Me pongo roja cuando tengo calor. Verde. Green. Verde. Verde. Green. Su color favorito es el verde. His favorite color is green. Su color favorito es el verde. Terminar. Finish. Terminar. Terminar. Finish. Acabo de terminar de escuchar la lección. I just finished listening to the lesson. Acabo de terminar de escuchar la lección. Empezar. Start. Empezar. Empezar. Start. ¿Cuándo empezó el dolor? When did the pain start? ¿Cuándo empezó el dolor? Convertirse. Become. Convertirse. Convertirse. Become. Él aspira a convertirse en alcalde. He aspires to become mayor. Él aspira a convertirse en alcalde. 14. 14. 14. 14. 14. La camisa cuesta $14. The shirt costs $14. La camisa cuesta $14. 15. 15. 15. 15. 15. Ella tiene 15 años. She is 15 years old. Ella tiene 15 años. 16. 16. 16. 16. 16. Tenemos 16 minutos. We have 16 minutes. Tenemos 16 minutos. Teléfono. Telephone. Teléfono. Teléfono. Telephone. Está sonando el teléfono. The telephone is ringing. Está sonando el teléfono. Ojo. Eye. Ojo. Ojo. Eye. Cuando te miro, veo el resto de mi vida delante de mis ojos. When I look at you, I see the rest of my life in front of my eyes. Cuando te miro, veo el resto de mi vida delante de mis ojos. Dientes. Teeth. Dientes. Dientes. Teeth. ¿Te has cepillado los dientes? Did you brush your teeth? ¿Te has cepillado los dientes? Labio. Lip. Labio. Labio. Lip. El labio inferior es mayor que el labio superior. The lower lip is bigger than the upper lip. El labio inferior es mayor que el labio superior. Fotocopiadora. Copy machine. Fotocopiadora. fotocopiadora. Copy machine. ¿Puedo usar la fotocopiadora? Can I use the copy machine? ¿Puedo usar la fotocopiadora? Escritorio. Desk. Escritorio. Escritorio. Desk. Las fotos están escondidas en el escritorio. The pictures are hidden in the desk. Las fotos están escondidas en el escritorio. Libro. Book. Libro. Libro. Book. Ambos libros están a la venta. Both books are on sale. Ambos libros están a la venta. Bolígrafo. Pen. Bolígrafo. Bolígrafo. Pen. Firmé el contrato con un bolígrafo. I signed the contract with a ballpoint pen. Firmé el contrato con un bolígrafo. Oficina de correos. Post office. Oficina de correos. Oficina de correos. Post office. La oficina de correos está lejos. The post office is far. La oficina de correos está lejos. Biblioteca. Library. Biblioteca. Biblioteca. Library. No hay fiestas en la biblioteca. There are no parties at the library. No hay fiestas en la biblioteca. Supermercado. Supermarket. Supermercado. Supermercado. Supermarket. Estoy caminando hacia el supermercado. I am walking towards the supermarket. Estoy caminando hacia el supermercado. Hey everyone, welcome to the Monthly Review, the monthly show on language learning, where you discover new learning strategies, motivational tips, study tools, and resources. By the way, all the lessons and bonuses you're about to see can be downloaded for free on our website. So click the link in the description right now to sign up for your free lifetime account. Okay, today's topic is the first step in your language learning journey that will guarantee your success. If you have trouble sticking with your language learning goals, it's probably because you're skipping one specific step. It's the step you need to take before you even start any learning. And doing it will help you stick with the language, not get overwhelmed, and reach your language goals. So today you'll learn 1. What solo language learners need to succeed, and 2. How to do self-assessment and set yourself up for success. But first, listen up. Here are this month's new lessons and resources. Be sure to download these now before we take them down in a few days. First, the Giving Directions Conversation Cheat Sheet. Do you know how to tell a taxi driver where to go in your target language? You'll be able to. With this PDF cheat sheet, you'll learn must-know words and phrases for giving directions. Second, the Most Common Verbs PDF ebook. You'll learn over 90 common verbs with this bonus PDF picture ebook. Download and review on any device. Third, how to talk about what you do in your free time. Learn how to say video games, fishing, and much more. You'll pick up over 25 words for leisure activities with this vocab bonus. Fourth, how to learn from home, learning strategies. Want to learn the language from the comfort of your home? This 1-minute lesson will give you all the best tactics for learning languages. Fifth, the top 35 adjectives for personalities. Can you describe your personality? This next bonus teaches you the 35 must-know adjectives for personalities, so you can talk about yourself in your target language. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. Okay, let's jump into today's topic. The first step in your language learning journey that will guarantee your success. Here's a question for you. When you want to learn a language, how do you usually get started with that goal? You might say the inspiration comes first, and that motivates you to start. Then you get a textbook or an app and go from there, right? That's a pretty standard answer, but how does that tend to work out? Most people end up falling off a week or a month later. Why do you think that happens? Leave a comment with why you think people tend to lose inspiration quickly. More often than not, it happens because you pick a goal, a learning routine, or a resource that overwhelms you and just isn't right for you. Here's a typical example. Let's say you work an 8-hour day and you want to try to start learning. Most people would try to squeeze in learning for 1 or 2 hours at night, or you could try and wake up an hour early. And usually that doesn't work out because you're trying to do things that you're not used to. Wake up earlier and study earlier. It doesn't fit your current lifestyle. So what should you do differently? Well, let's take an example from language schools. Before you start learning, language schools force you to take an assessment test on the first day. Why? So that they make sure the language lessons fit your level and put you in the proper class. The goal of an assessment test is to find out where you are and meet you there. That's something most solo learners don't do. And the problem is, if you're a solo learner, no one assesses you. And you yourself don't know what routine works best for you, how much time you can set aside, and how much studying you can comfortably do. We all imagine we can do an hour a day, but realistically speaking, it'll be a lot less than that. So that's where self-assessment comes in. Before you start learning a language, or do any goal for that matter, it's important to know where you are in life, what your daily schedule is like, when you're busy and when you're free. So you can set your expectations, know how much time you can put in, and so you can start learning at a pace that works for you. Now, how do you actually assess yourself? There are 3 assessments you can do. 1, a life assessment. 2, a routine assessment. And 3, language assessment. Language assessment will only be helpful if you already have some experience. If you're brand new, you won't need this. First, life assessment. Here, the goal is to see how the language will fit into your life and how you generally deal with goals. As in, if you succeeded with a goal before, what helped you succeed? You could take that and apply it here. If you failed before, find out why so you can avoid it this time. So you'll need to answer the following questions. Why are you learning this language? How will it help your life? What current connections do you have to this language? For example, listening to music, watching TV, you have a relative, you have neighbors or friends that speak it. What have you been doing so far to learn? Have you learned languages before? Have you failed any goals before? How or why? Have you succeeded with any goals before? How or why? Write these questions out and answer them. Next, the routine assessment. Write out your daily routine for a whole week. For example, wake up at 7 a.m., breakfast at 8 a.m., commute to work at 8:30 a.m., arrive at work at 9:30 a.m., lunch at 1 p.m., and so on. Do this for every day of the week. The goal here is to see what your daily routine is like, so you know when you're free, when you're busy, and where you can fit in language learning. That way, if you're super busy on Mondays and 5 minutes is all you can do, then that's good enough. You won't feel bad about doing only 5 minutes. If you see that you spend 30 minutes on commuting, add language learning on top of that existing routine. If you take walks or go for a jog, play an audio lesson there. Or even if you're cooking at a certain time, play an audio lesson in the background. Remember, look for an existing routine that you already stick with, like commuting, and where you can multitask. Don't try to create new routines. For example, waking up at 7 a.m. to learn will set you up for failure. If you usually wake up at 8 a.m., waking up at 7 a.m. will be even harder. And then, actually trying to learn a language at 7 a.m. makes it even harder. This is where new learners start having trouble. You're trying to do two things at once, trying to learn the language and trying to stick to a new routine. One is hard enough. Trying to do two can overwhelm you. So piggyback off of your existing routines first, so you can build momentum. And finally, there's language assessment. If you're an absolute beginner, you won't need much of an assessment. Just start with our absolute beginner recommended learning pathway. But if you have experience and want to assess yourself, there are two things you can do. First, if you're a Premium Plus user, then you're asked to do an assessment test when you join, but you can always request it again from your teacher. And second, if you're a Premium user, check our recommended pathways. We assign these pathways, level 1 to level 5, based on your learning level, from absolute beginner to advanced. At the start of each pathway, there's a diagnostic test. You can take that to assess yourself. So thank you for watching this episode of Monthly Review. Next time, we'll talk about when routines grow stale, how to learn more language with a new routine. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. And if you're ready to finally learn language the fast, fun, and easy way and start speaking from your very first lesson, get our complete learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account right now. Click the link in the description. See you next time. Bye! What are some surefire ways to stay motivated when you're learning a language? In this video, we're going to talk about 10 surefire ways to stay motivated and stay on track. All right, we asked our Premium and Premium Plus members for their tested techniques. You'll find out what worked for them. Number 1, you must see your progress. In other words, you have to see it to believe it. There's nothing better than seeing your results firsthand. It's like seeing muscles in the mirror after working out. How do you do this with language? In order to see it, you have to start measuring it first. And you can do that with the dashboard on our website. With the dashboard, you can see how many lessons and how much of the language you've mastered so far. So review the progress you've made with the dashboard on the site. Number 2, use the Daily Dose of Language app. With this, you get free daily mini lessons, but that's not all. This app keeps you on track because it actually sends you daily reminders. If you need that extra push or reminder, this app does it for you. And the Daily Dose lessons are quick and easy. They take just 1 minute of your time. Number 3, learn with somebody better than you. A tutor, a friend, and you can even learn with your own teacher with a Premium Plus subscription. Simply having someone better than you by your side is enough to help you improve and motivate you. It's like having a coach. Number 4, set a small, measurable goal. For example, finish 10 lessons in 1 week, or learn 20 words in a week. Most people give up because they have a vague goal, like I want to be fluent, that they don't know how to reach. But if you aim small and make it measurable, you'll have a much better chance of reaching it. Your goal is to learn 20 words, and you know 17 already. Because you know how close you are, you're more motivated to close the gap and reach your goal. Number 5, Watch movies and shows in your target language. First of all, we recommend this because it's fun. But more importantly, when you understand what you hear, it's a clear sign of progress and you'll feel good about it. Number 6, listen to music in your target language. Music is enjoyable, and if you make it part of your routine, you're giving yourself a nice break in between lessons. But you're still immersing yourself in the language. So if you enjoy this routine, you're more likely to stay motivated. Number 7, do the lessons that you enjoy. Just like with music, if you enjoy our audio and video lessons, then stick with them. If you have any favorite lessons, remember you can always download them to your device and review them as much as you want. They're yours to keep. Number 8, understand that language learning is a marathon. Learning a new language is not a sprint. Most people think they can study for hours and suddenly get better. But when they realize that it takes time, this can hurt their motivation. So understand that it's a marathon. Remember that it's better to study for a few minutes every day than pulling a 5-hour cram session that will burn you out. Number 9, keep the big goal in mind. Imagine yourself being fluent. Small, measurable goals are definitely important. But when you just don't feel like learning, which is completely natural by the way, remember the big goal. Having the big picture in mind will remind you of what's important and put you back on track. Number 10, invest in the language. Make a commitment. Whether you buy a book or a subscription, enroll in a class, or join a study group, by investing and making a commitment, you're much more likely to go through with it. You've paid for it, so you value it more. You want to make sure you get your money's worth. Plus, other people expect you to show up. This can be extremely helpful when working towards your language goals. And that's it. There are so many ways to keep yourself motivated. Do you have a favorite way? Leave us a comment and let us know. So, to make sure you stay motivated in your studies, just check out our complete language learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Get tons of resources to have you speaking in your target language. And if you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye! Want to speak and understand more of your target language? You'll need to know more words and phrases to really make new conversations and ultimately connections. In this video, you'll discover 6 ways to master new words and phrases fast. Number 1, use our free vocabulary lists. Here's what makes this study tool so powerful. This is your free library of vocab and phrase lessons. You can learn words and phrases for current events like Halloween or New Year's. There are also many useful topics, like the top 10 ways to say hello, conversational phrases, and more. In other words, you learn phrases that you wouldn't normally find in textbooks. And if you want to learn extra fast, you can use the slideshow tool. Just tap on or click on View Slideshow, then sit back and review the words and phrases. Find the vocabulary lists in the vocabulary drop-down menu on the site. And yes, these vocab lists are free for all users. Number 2, take the audio and video lessons. One of the best ways to learn new words is through conversations. You get to hear how the words are used. So in every lesson dialogue, you'll come across some words you don't know. But don't worry, because our teachers translate everything. So when you hear the conversation again at the end of the lesson, you'll know them all. Number 3, learn with our 2,000 most common words list. Here's a question for you. How many words do you think you need for conversational fluency? 3,000? 5,000? Actually, language experts say you need only about 1,500 to reach conversational fluency. And with this study tool, the 2,000 most common words list, you get the words you need for conversational fluency right up front. That's what makes this study tool so powerful. It's all here for you. And they're broken down into simple categories, such as adjectives, nouns, verbs, food, drinks, numbers, and months. Now, 2,000 is quite a lot to learn. Do you have to learn it all? Well, you don't have to learn it all at once. You can go category by category. You can also start with the top 100 words, then move on to the top 200, 300, and so on until you get to 2,000. So if you're an absolute beginner, you can start with the top 100 words. Once you've mastered those, you can move on to the next category. You can also use other study tools to learn these words faster, right? Such as number 4, study with spaced repetition flashcards. Now, we're not talking about paper flashcards. We're talking about the smart flashcards that you can find in our premium study tools. Picture this. Think of these as a teacher inside of your computer who quizzes you and sorts the words for you. So words that you struggle with, you'll be quizzed on more and more, and words that you know, you'll see less and less. So they display the words as needed, so you never forget them. In every session, they'll refresh your memory on the words you learned last time and introduce new ones. That's exactly how our smart flashcards work. And because you get drilled on the words you struggle with, you have no choice but to master them and improve. You have no choice but to succeed. You can also study the words from your lessons and vocab lists with the very same flashcard tool. Number 5, create printable word lists with the word bank. The word bank is a study tool that lets you save words and phrases from lessons and vocab lists. Think of it as your extended brain. If you come across a new word that you want to review later, you can save it to the word bank. But the word bank also lets you print out your word lists. So click on the printer-friendly option inside Word Bank and print out your collection of words. You can use that sheet for writing practice. Number 6, use the words. After you learn a new word, using it right away is crucial to remembering it. So when you're done with a lesson or a vocab list, leave a comment. Make up a sample sentence and post it in the comment section. Write it down in a notebook, or shadow it, meaning listen to the audio pronunciation and say it out loud. You should do this because it's the actual practice that gets you to remember it. So say it, write it, listen to it again. Doing this will help lock the words into your memory. So if you want to take advantage of any of these tools for yourself, just check out our complete language learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Get tons of resources to have you speaking in your target language. And if you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye! Are you studying a language but starting to lose motivation? In this video, we're going to talk about the halfway point and how to keep going with language learning. After 6 months to a year of studying a language, you might be feeling like you're losing a little bit of steam. Maybe you started out strong and now you're feeling a bit low. Maybe you aren't seeing the results you wanted, or you think your efforts aren't paying off. But the reason for that might not have anything to do with your studies. It might be more an issue about your reviewing and your goal setting. 1. Why you should review your past language goals. When you set goals, do you ever go back to review your progress? It can be a reminder of how far you've come and help you keep your motivation up. Let's say you started learning a language and you've been at it for a few months. In month 1, you're excited and motivated. In month 2, you're still going at it, but maybe the motivation is not as strong, and you want to make sure that you don't fall off, unfortunately, as most people do. So you work hard to keep at it. By month 3, you're kind of on autopilot and learning with whatever has been working for you. That sounds like a good place to be, cruising on autopilot. Well, it may seem like a good place to be, but the problem is by month 4, 5, or 6, if you've been coasting along for too long and haven't had any significant improvements, you may start wondering if you're actually learning or if you'll ever master the language. You might start losing motivation, and worse, you might even quit. If you're learning by yourself, it's hard, and if you're not tracking your progress, by month 4 or 5, you might realize that the textbook you've been using isn't helping you increase your fluency. You might think you're going nowhere. So the reason to review is to check your progress. Maybe you can speak none of your target language in month 1, but at the end of month 3, you can speak 3 minutes. So that's some progress. And if you're at 8 minutes now, for example, then you can definitely say that you've improved since the start. It's good for motivation, just knowing that you got a return on your time investment. So reviewing is good for progress and motivation. Also, it's natural to lose motivation with anything you're trying to learn or do. So it's something you need to keep up, something you need to keep in mind. What do you do when your motivation dips? You can stop, take some time to review and reflect. Is your motivation dipping? Are you studying less? Do you feel like you're not making progress? And if you say yes to these questions, then you can work on boosting your motivation to help you keep going. How do you boost your motivation? Well, do you remember anchor points? Anchor points are things that connect you or anchor you to your goal, such as a language class or a program. It could even be relatives or friends who speak the language, TV shows in that language you like, or an upcoming trip to the target country. All of these things, in one way or another, keep you anchored to your language learning goal. So if you're watching a TV show in your target language, then it's natural for you to want to understand it better, and your desire to learn goes up. If you're taking language classes where a teacher expects homework from you, that's another connection to the language. So you do the homework, you attend classes, you learn more. Ultimately, if you want to boost your motivation and keep going, you should get more anchor points. But how do you do that? Let's jump into the second part. 2. How to review your progress and maintain motivation. How do you review your progress? First, you always set small, measurable goals and always track results. The study resource you're using can be used for your review as well. It's easy to get demotivated and think that you have learned nothing. But if you're using a textbook, for example, you can set a number of pages, and that can be a really good motivator, something to reach for. Making sure you're getting through and then testing yourself on material is a little harder if you're not actually using your textbook, though. So make sure that you actually stick to the plan you set for yourself. Again, the tool you're using is not so important, but just make sure whatever you use, you measure it and track your progress. Reviewing is as simple as looking at your past goals and results. You can also do it the old school way and look through your notebooks, see how much you've written out. In fact, we have something called the Dean's Date with our Premium Plus plan, where our Premium Plus users send in all of the work they've completed with their teacher. The writings, the recordings, the assignments, and you can see it all, everything that you've done. Then you can see your actual results of your 3 months of work. Everything you've accomplished is in one place. Do you ever run out of motivation? Of course you do occasionally, and it's natural for everyone's motivation to dip after some time. Then if you lose motivation, how do you keep going? Just as we talked about earlier, add more anchor points, more connections to the language, whether that means enrolling in in-person classes at a real language school, planning trips, or signing up for a test. Those anchor points help you stay motivated. Your main ones need to be things that will keep you interested in your target language or the people in your life connected to it. These are the things that will keep you motivated. But it's also important to remember, whether you're struggling or you're progressing rapidly, that you have to keep your learning adaptive. As humans, we are adaptive. We adapt to environments, and this is the same thing. Your language learning path has to adapt as you progress. If you're progressing faster, there's a way to adapt. If you're progressing slower, there's also a way to adapt. 3. How you can keep going past the halfway point. If you've been studying the language for a few months, it's normal to start losing steam. If you're not losing steam and you're progressing, then great job, and maybe you can share some of your tips with us, because it's one of the hardest things ever to stay motivated long term. If you are starting to lose steam, remember that this happens with any goal. It can happen to anyone at any time, so you need to learn how to adapt to it. By being aware that these dips are natural and that they happen, you can expect them. So when one does come around, you'll know how to boost your motivation and know how to keep yourself going. Here's what you do when a dip does come around. 1. Review your learning progress. If you've been setting small, measurable goals every month, then this won't be a problem. The goal here is to see how far you've come, and this will help you maintain motivation. If you can see that you learned 50 words in January, 50 in February, 100 in March, and so on, then you have measurable progress, and this lets you know that you're improving, even when you don't feel like you are. Second, if you're a Premium Plus student, you can also participate in the Dean's Date and submit your work on the deadline. Be sure to ask your Premium Plus teacher about it. Third, if you're a Premium or Premium Plus user, you can also check your dashboard and see how many flashcards you've studied and how many lessons you've completed. We track your progress for you. But of course, it's best to set goals like learn 50 words or speak 1 minute of conversation, because completing a lesson may not mean that you've mastered everything inside. So if you've not been setting goals and tracking them, now is the time to start. Otherwise, do you know how much of the language you can speak? Or how many words you've learned? If you don't know, then you'll feel like you're floating around and not learning anything. So be sure to set small, measurable monthly goals. Fourth, create more anchor points to boost your motivation. Anchor points are connections to the language that keep you anchored to the language and your goal. It could be friends or relatives who speak the language, TV shows in that language you like, an upcoming trip to the target country, language classes, or language programs. All of these things, in one way or another, keep you anchored to your language learning goal. So if you started learning a language because your relative speaks it, that motivation may not last forever. It may help you in month 1 or month 2, but by month 4, 5, or 6, your motivation might wear off. But you can decide to enroll in a class or start watching a TV show in that language. That will give you some new reasons to keep going to the language. In a way, you give yourself more reasons to learn. A lot of the time, the reasons why we start something are not often the reasons why we continue them. So don't be afraid to adjust your motivations as you go along. If you've reached a language milestone and are starting to feel a little less motivated, just take a look at these tips. Thorough review, setting anchor points, and reviewing your study methods will all help you keep going in your studies. For more strategies on how to keep studying, just check out our complete language learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account by clicking on the link in the description. Get tons of resources to have you speaking in your target language. And if you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a new language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. I'll see you next time. Bye! Great work! Here's a reward. Speed up your language learning with our PDF lessons. Get all of our best PDF cheat sheets and ebooks for free. Just click the link in the description.